Hey everybody, Josh Peck here. So I found a whole treasure trove of old videos and presentations. A few years ago, I did like different shows. Like I did one called Peck Report. I had a whole bunch of episodes of that. I had Peck Underground Church, and anyway, I just in moving, I found hard drives that have a lot of this stuff on, some with presentations, and I also found an old Vimeo account that still has a lot of those. And so I thought it would be cool to start doing like Throwback Thursdays, where like every Thursday I put up one of these videos until I get through them all. And there's quite a few, so it'll take a while. But anyway, this one that I want to play today, it's from, and I'm not going to do any videos. These are old, but I'm not going to do any that were timely for the time. So I'm not going to do current event stuff from years ago, because what would be the point? But stuff that is still relevant today, stuff that you can still learn something from and get something from. So the one that I'm going to play today is from November 20th of 2019, and it was an episode of a show I did called Peck Report. And this one I called The Christian Case for Alien Life. I went back to edit it and kind of go through, take some stuff out, because I have like old ads and stuff that aren't relevant anymore, stuff like that. And I decided to give it a different title because the title I came up with for the video you're currently watching is more descriptive of what the video is actually about. So anyway, I thought that this would be a cool idea. I'd love to know what you think about it. And as always, for the full video, head over to dailyrenegade.com. You can get the full video and not just the first part of it. And all that information is in the links in the description below. So without further ado, here, check this out. Initiative, a $100 million effort backed by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and physicist Stephen Hawking, is trying to find signs of alien intelligence, and it's teaming up with NASA in the search for alien life. We have to talk about that. Also, a catastrophic solar storm capable of wiping out almost all technology on Earth is inevitable. A new report has just came out to claim this. We have to talk about all of this and more on today's Peck Report. Hey everybody, hope you are doing well. So yes, SETI and NASA has now partnered up to find alien life, because of course they have. They can't find intelligent life in their own places of business, so they're going to look to the stars. So let's talk about this. This comes from Newsmax. It says, here's a picture here. A sign at West Virginia's National Radio Astronomy Observatory in Green Bank says U.S. government private property, authorized vehicles only. See, so you can see the satellite there. But the Breakthrough Listen SETI initiative, this is a $100 million effort that is being backed by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg and, of course, Stephen Hawking, who's passed away. But in order to find signs of alien intelligence, it's now teaming up with NASA in the search for alien life, because this disclosure movement is going to keep going. It's going to keep ramping up until the revealing, the day of the revealing, whatever that may mean. Now, scientists working on the space agency's Transitioning Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS, mission will collaborate with SETI in this effort. So those of you who watch Peck Report, you'll probably already be familiar with TESS, or if you watch Into the Multiverse, another show that I host. But TESS was launched in April of 2018 with the aim of searching for planets outside the solar system. The spacecraft does its work by using the transit method, which looks for slight dips in star brightness caused when an orbiting planet crosses the star's face from TESS's perspective. Now, SETI, in short, which is short for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. It's the largest player in the hunt for advanced life beyond our solar system. So the collaboration is going to add over 1,000 objects of interest identified by TESS to Breakthrough Listen's target list, and SETI will scan promising worlds with a range of instruments, including the Green Bank and Parkes radio telescopes in West Virginia and Australia, respectively. the Meerkat radio array in South Africa, and the automated Planet Finder optical telescope in California. TESS Deputy Science Director and MIT Professor Sarah Seeger said in a release, quote, "We are very enthusiastic about joining the Breakthrough Listen SETI search. Out of all of the exoplanet endeavors, only SETI holds the promise for identifying signs of intelligent life." Only SETI holds the promise. So they have the hope. We put our hope in SETI, we put our hope in NASA, and maybe we'll find something more intelligent than us. Maybe they will be able to find something that gives us the meaning of life, the meaning of our own individual lives, what it means to be in this universe. We don't need to look to religion for that. We don't need to look to pastors. I mean, that's the message here, really. I mean, that's really the message. That's what they're really telling the rest of us. Is you don't have to look anywhere else. Look to the government to solve all your problems. I mean, that's just leftist propaganda, of course. And we see this in all realms of life, and we're going to keep seeing it. But that's in me and Derek's book, The Day the Earth Stands Still. During research for that book, that was something that I noticed was pretty prominent. This whole disclosure movement was rooted in leftist ideology, meaning put your hope in the government. Don't put any hope in yourself. You can't take care of yourself. The government will take care of you. Don't put hopes in churches or religion or anything like that you can take part in yourself, that you can persevere through your own life. Give us money, we'll take care of it. And it says it just right there in those words, that SETI is the only hope, the only hope of finding intelligent life in the universe. And of course, this goes back to the main question. Can Christians be Christians and still believe in life on other planets? I think, yeah, absolutely. I think there's probably something out there. Now, I don't believe whatever is out there. I don't believe that's what's visiting us. I don't believe that that's what the UFOs are all about. I don't believe that's what the alien abductions are all about. There are too many points of correlation between alien abduction scenarios and satanic ritual abuse. We document all of that in The Day the Earth Stands Still, if you want to look more into that. There's too many points of correlation. It's either it's demonic, or it is aliens and the aliens are demonic. I mean, there's no way around it. So I believe that the general question of could life exist out there in the universe, I think that is separated. That's divorced from the question of what are UFOs, what's going on with alien abductions in our world today. Now, I believe we are being invaded by spiritual agents, by extra-dimensional agents, really. When we use the word spiritual, we tend to think of ghosts and things. That's not exactly what we're talking about. These creatures, these otherworldly beings, these extra-dimensional beings, they're not just made of mist. They're not just like smoke or like a wispy entity. That's not what we're dealing with. These are actually more solid than we as human beings. They're more solid. They exist in more dimensions than just three. How do we know that? By eyewitness report. Well, we don't know, okay? I'll put that out. We don't know for sure. We can't prove it. But there's some good evidence to suggest that that's the case.
Hey everyone. Concerning the economically unstable times that we live in, it is a great idea to convert some of your savings into real money. Now, there is a big difference between real money and what we call money, which is actually currency. So our dollar is currency, which fluctuates. Real money, like silver, is a store of value over time. The best way to think of it is like this. If you had saved $1,000 in cash back in the late 60s, the late 1960s, that $1,000 would still be $1,000 today, but it would buy you significantly less today due to inflation. Now, if you saved that same $1,000 in silver back in the 1960s, it would be around $28,000 today. So one of the best ways to protect your purchasing power is in real money, more specifically, silver. Now, you can buy and have the metal shipped discreetly to your door. And what most people don't know is that you can actually convert your IRA or even your 401k into physical silver rather than having all your life savings tied up in the paper fiat system, which is, of course, subject to hyperinflation. So go to dailyrenegade.com right now and click on the Cornerstone Asset Metals banner and sign up to get your free silver report. One of the financial experts will speak with you and find out the best way to protect your savings going forward in these uncertain times. You can also click on the link in the description below that goes directly to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Make sure you tell them that Josh Peck at Daily Renegade sent you. It is time to stop trusting the evil beast financial system of the world and protect your assets today.
So, for example, one of the main things that's reported in alien abduction scenarios is somebody will be laying in bed, they wake up, they can't move, they see these alien creatures. Usually it's the short gray bald ones with the big black eyes. They'll see them enter into the room and they'll feel themselves lift off the bed. And then these creatures will kind of guide them to a corner of the room, and then they'll pass through the wall or through a closed window and then float out to the spaceship. Now, some might say, well, they probably have technology to be able to do that. Okay, that might be the case, but still, isn't a door infinitely easier to use? Isn't opening the window infinitely easier to do? Why develop and utilize that type of technology even if you have it? Like if I had that technology for myself, I'd still just use the door. It's just easier, right? But so what would be easier? What's easier than a door? If they're extra dimensional in nature, the wall, it kind of isn't there. I mean, it's there, but it's not there in all the dimensions they can inhabit. So they can, in a sense, lift a person over the wall. I mean, over isn't the right word because it's not an up motion. The best way to think about this is imagine a two-dimensional universe. Doesn't even have to be very big. It can just be on your tabletop. Now, let's say you have a two-dimensional being. For that being, there's no up or down. So this is the flatland analogy. There's no up or down for that being. You can draw a circle around him, and essentially he's trapped. He can't get out because he can't climb over the circle. You know, I mean, even when you draw a circle, that's still you're still adding thickness there. Or you can take a cup. You can take a cup and put it over him or something. Let's say you draw a circle around him. He can't get out now. He's trapped. But you, as an extra dimensional being, you can just guide him out. You can just lift him slightly over the wall of graphite that you've created in this prison. You can lift him slightly over that through the third dimension and put him back down in his two-dimensional universe. Now, to everybody else that was viewing this, it would look like he's going through the wall. But even if there's a door available, you wouldn't use it because it's just infinitely easier to just push him through the third dimension, and no technology required to do that. It's the path of least resistance to do that. So I think that's evidence to suggest that these beings are extra dimensional in nature. We actually put a lot of evidence like that and other areas in our book, The Day the Earth Stands Still. But these are extra dimensional entities that we're dealing with. That's what UFOs are. That's what the alien abduction thing is all about. Essentially, they're satanic, they're demonic, they're rebellious, they're fallen watchers, fallen angels. Possibly some of them are demons. I do believe these are all different classes of being, different species. You could think of them like that. But that's what's going on with these scenarios. You could even take a lot of the UFO sightings. There are people that will claim they've seen a UFO, they've seen an object, a metallic object, a solid object in the sky, and it seems to get larger and then break off into other pieces, and then they come back together and it gets smaller, and then it just disappears. Could an alien race develop technology to do that? Possibly, but why? I mean, why develop that type of technology that could, like, what's the purpose behind doing that? Just to freak us out? Would we develop technology to freak out monkeys in the jungle or something? Or anybody else? No, of course not. It would have to serve a purpose. But instead, if they're extra dimensional objects, then exactly that phenomena is what we would expect to see. That's exactly what it would look like. Again, use the flatland analogy. If I had my hand like this and I decided to stick it into flatland, what would a flatlander here see? They would first see the tip of my middle finger. But remember, to them it's two-dimensional. They're only seeing a cross section at a time. But they would see that. It would be a point right in front of their line of vision, their literal line of vision. It would be a point that would expand into a circle, and then two more would appear as my pointer finger and my ring finger enter in, and then a third, or a fourth, excuse me, as my pinky entered in, and then a fifth with my thumb, and then I could go like this, and it would look like, to a flatlander, just viewing it from this cross section here, it would look like 5 independent circles are traveling around. Now, what if I kept putting my hand in? All of these circles would converge into a big circle as the top of my hand onto my wrist. And that circle would shrink a little bit as it got to my wrist, right? So all these objects, these physical objects, two-dimensional physical objects, would come together into one object. Now, if I pulled my hand out, what would that look like? The same thing in reverse. This circle object thing that's moving around would break off into 5 separate, smaller circles, and then those circles one by one would just disappear as I'm pulling my hand out. No technology required, no energy really required. It's just an extra dimensional object, i.e. my hand, entering into lower dimensional space. So we should expect that same thing to happen if a higher dimensional object entered our space, except for us, it wouldn't be two-dimensional, it'd be three-dimensional. So we wouldn't see circles, we would see spheres. And it wouldn't look like these spheres are connected to anything. But actually, they probably are. So that's what's going on with a lot of these UFO reports. And some of this stuff has been filmed, even. And even if not, I would believe the eyewitnesses, because I don't believe they're all quantum physicists. I don't believe that all of them, and the abductees, they all have researched quantum physics and extra dimensions to know enough to know how to describe these things. Right? I mean, that would be impossible. Someone would get something wrong along the way. And I haven't seen it. I've seen it in the obvious fake ones. I mean, there are people that lie. There are people that don't tell the truth, and those stories are pretty easy to pick apart. But in the legitimate ones, the ones that describe this stuff that they would have no knowledge of, I mean, it adds validity to it. So the UFO alien abduction phenomena that's happening in our world, I believe that's demonic. That has nothing to do with aliens. It has nothing to do with spacecraft. They're using that as a shield. They're hiding behind that. They're saying the demons themselves, the evil entities themselves, are lying and claiming that's what they are, but they're not. There very well could be there very well could be some race of gray aliens out there that have nothing to do with what's going on here on Earth. They might not even be aware that we're here. But spiritual entities would know about them. And maybe they're taking on their appearance. They're taking on their likeness. These demons are taking on the likeness of these things that might exist. Might not even be, might have nothing to do with us. Never been to Earth, don't even know Earth is here. They might take on those appearances and scare us with it. Because again, the enemy doesn't have an original idea. The enemy doesn't just create things. They can't. They take creations of God and pervert them. I would not be surprised if there is a planet out there full of gray little aliens, gray little bald aliens with dark eyes, that they have no knowledge of Earth or humanity, and they're not technologically superior. They're just living their lives like we're living ours. They have nothing to do with us. Why are we seeing them? Because these spirits are taking on their appearance. These familiar spirits are taking on their appearance.
I have just started a Substack. What is a Substack, you might ask? It is a place that contains early access to audio-only podcast versions of full Daily Renegade videos, plus my personal blog, which includes original articles, show notes, interview transcripts, and so much more. This is the only place to get this amazing resource, and it is not available to the general public. Adding a subscription to my Substack to your Daily Renegade membership will ensure that you have full access to every format of everything that I do. So head on over to joshpeck.substack.com or click on the link in the description below to join up now for only $5 a month or $50 a year. And if you can do it, I suggest doing the $50 a year because it's cheaper in the long run, and essentially you get 2 months for free. So I cannot wait to see you there. Take care and God bless.
You know, I saw a similar thing when I used to deal with sleep paralysis a lot. And many of you, if you've dealt with sleep paralysis, you may have had this happen to you. But there would be times that I would be demonically attacked. I mean, there would be a demon in the room physically attacking me, but it would look like a friend of mine or a family member. They have this way of taking on the appearance of other people and other things for some reason. And again, it's because they don't have an original thought. They're trying to deceive and confuse you. So it would not surprise me if all these alien races are actually real and out there, but they just don't have anything to do with us. And these demons, these fallen angels, are transforming their appearance to look like those things. Now, what would happen if we ever did discover life? If we ever did discover a planet of gray aliens? You know, what would happen? We would think they were responsible for all the stuff going on here. What if the same thing is happening in the other direction? Now we're really going off on a rabbit trail, but what if these same demons, these same fallen angels are posing as us and attacking those guys, trying to start a war, a literal war of the worlds here? You know, I don't know. I don't know really how far we can take that. Of course, all of this is just pure speculation. This is just kind of my science fiction brain running a mile a minute, but I don't believe there's any real evidence to suggest that there's anything out there. I know I said at the beginning, I believe there probably is, and I do, but belief and then evidence is different. There's no evidence to suggest that there's any life in the universe except on Earth. There's no evidence of that. I believe there probably is life out there, but there's no evidence. I fully recognize there's zero evidence to support that. So as far as right now, it's just got to remain in the realm of belief. And then, because of that, we can kind of speculate. But we have to be careful. We have to be able to draw clear distinctions between, opinion and fact. So like this whole grand scenario about, demons spurring on a war of the worlds, that would probably make an interesting science fiction novel. But there's no evidence to really suggest that that's actually happening. It's just an interesting way of thinking about it. Now, this also brings on the question, well, if they're aliens, how do they fit into the plan of salvation? And the short answer is they don't. They're not humans. They're not made in the image of God. It doesn't mean that they would just be worthless, and it doesn't mean that they wouldn't be, above the animals, even if they had intelligence and consciousness and society and culture and all of that stuff. But they wouldn't be within our plan of salvation. Being made in the image of God is more of a status than it is a quality. It's not a quality that you have, or it's not a quality that you can develop. You either are or you aren't, and human beings are. Animals aren't. So like monkeys are not made in the image of God. So it can't be physical description because we human beings and monkeys look very similar. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. We have hair on our bodies. We look very similar. It can't be intelligence. There are people in vegetative states who don't have intelligence anymore. So did they lose their image of God quality? It can't be that. It can't be self-awareness. A baby in the womb is not self-aware. Really, even a 1-year-old isn't really self-aware, not in the way that we are. My memory, well, most people's memories don't start until they're about 3 years old. Mine personally don't start until I was like 12 years old, but that's because of a whole bunch of trauma and stuff. But besides that, so that would be a quality that develops over time. So it can't be that. What is the image of God? The image of God is a status that we are put on this earth to take care of the earth as God would if he were here. And if you want more information on that, you can look into Dr. Michael Heiser and then just look up image of God or made in the image of God, Dr. Michael Heiser. He's got a wealth of information for free online that you can look into that. So it wouldn't be any of these qualities. So there could be life somewhere that possesses these qualities: intelligence, self-awareness, consciousness, all of this stuff, but that would be outside of the plan of salvation. So what do they do to reconcile with God, or to, I don't know. Maybe that's a problem they don't have to deal with. Maybe it is. Maybe there's a different plan for them. We're just not told. It's kind of like the animals. They're outside of the plan of salvation, so we assume that they just kind of all go to heaven, probably. But we don't really know. Actually, there's a really good book on that called "Do Our Pets Go to Heaven?" And I think the general consensus of that book is if it's just some random animal that a person isn't attached to, then it dies, it's dead, it's gone. But if it's like a pet, if it's somebody that you essentially brought into the covenant, brought into the home, and you and your family, you're Christian, and you're bringing this animal into the home, that that pet would be able to, be in heaven with you or something. I'm probably simplifying it too much, because it is, there's a lot of information in that book, so you can check that out. But I think it would be similar to something like that. There's no way to know what their plan of salvation is, if any. Really, there's no way to know if they're even out there. All the evidence so far suggests that it is a dead universe, and we are one shining light in a sea of chaos. That's bleak. If God doesn't exist, then that's bleak. But God does exist, so that's actually really beautiful in a way. If God exists and we find our purpose in that, means that God is paying attention to us. We matter. What we do in life matters. If God doesn't exist and all the evidence suggests that the universe is empty, well, then what's the point of it all? Why are we even asking what's the point of anything? Why do we have this internal need to know what the purpose of things are, or what the point is, or the meaning? Maybe that's a better word to use, the meaning. So, these are all really deep questions, theologically and philosophically. These are questions that I have, and I think that these are conversations we as Christians should have. Because right now, Catholicism is dominating this debate. The Vatican is actively searching for extraterrestrial life. We might say, well, that's pointless and stupid. Well, then we're not taking the time to even understand our own position to explain it to the world. It's not good enough to just say it's all demons. It's just not good enough. We've been doing that for decades now, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't been working. So we need to come up with something better. We need to come up with something that's a little bit more rooted in reality and in truth and in the Bible. It used to be a pretty common Christian belief at the very beginning of Christianity that there probably was life somewhere in the universe, but we have no way of knowing about it. We shouldn't dwell on it or focus on it. It's an interesting thing, but there's no way to know. And so we should focus on God instead. Doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. We should talk about it, but that should not be our focus. Our hope should not rely on finding life out in the universe. Our hope should rely on God. So it used to be a commonly accepted thing, but then there were ancient atheists, basically, that came up with these kind of straw man arguments. Like, well, wouldn't Jesus have to die on all of those planets for them all to be saved? That's ridiculous. And they would use that, these atheists who were antagonistic to Christianity would use those arguments. Thomas Paine was one of them, in Common Sense, would use these arguments to show how stupid the Christians were for believing in life on other worlds. And then Christians just started adopting that for some reason. And we tend to do that. When Christians get made fun of about something enough times, we tend to want to be part of the the cool club, the initiated. We want to be part of the popular group. So we start making fun of other Christians as well, and then the tide shifts, and all of a sudden we're all on that side, and that's where we are now. And that position has not worked well for us since that happened at all. So I think it's if Christians want to believe that it's all demons, then fine. But I'm not saying abandon your beliefs about it. But I would say be a little open-minded to other positions, but also be able to have a conversation, a respectful conversation, without getting angry with somebody who disagrees with you. Learn some of the other points of view, and then teach your point of view to others. Eventually the truth is going to work itself out. Reality has a way of tending to work itself out over time. But if we're not even going to take part in the conversation, then then we're just allowing the Catholics to dominate that conversation. We're just allowing the Catholics who want to baptize aliens and want to look to the aliens as our spiritual advisors. That's what the Vatican is promoting. We're just allowing them to do that, while we're just over here saying, no, they're demons, no, they're demons, no, they're demons, and we're just saying that over and over again. We need to have some more nuanced arguments about this. Okay, I want to know what you think. Leave me a comment in the comment section below. And next, we got to talk about this solar storm, that's capable of wiping out Earth's technology. How this is inevitable, apparently.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the first half of this episode of the Sharpening Report. If you are a Bible-believing Christian who opposes the kingdom of darkness trying to run the world right now, then you are a renegade to the satanic system. We here at Daily Renegade wear that badge proudly. So, if you're a renegade as well, and you want to see the rest of this video, head on over to dailyrenegade.com right now and get a membership today. Not only will you get the rest of this video, but you'll get our full catalog of Sharpening Report episodes and Daily Renegade update videos on topics such as Bible prophecy, science, technology, the Nephilim, aliens, and so much more. All of our episodes at Daily Renegade are early access, so as a member, you'll get the videos before anyone else does. Daily Renegade also offers videos not available anywhere else due to social media censorship. We also have a community page only for members where we can all fellowship together without fear of censorship. It's basically the best of Facebook and YouTube rolled into one without any of the garbage. Memberships are only $10 a month or $100 a year, and if you can do it, I suggest getting the $100 a year because it's cheaper in the long run, and essentially you get 2 months for free that way. So come join our family of renegades at dailyrenegade.com right now. The link is in the description below, and we'll see you there.